Okay, let's get started in 3, 2. And now we're here with new friend of the show, movie reviewer Brad Jones. Welcome to our Station One, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Welcome to the station. For those people who may not be familiar with what you do, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, let's see. Of course, am the author of the novelization of Moment by Moment, obviously.
Obviously.
It just happened to be sitting right there. No. I run a YouTube channel called Stone Gremlin Productions. I play a character called the Cinema Snob, which for a long time now have been spotlighting usually a lot of exploitation movies, slasher movies, melodramas, porn parodies, actually quite a few genres over the years. Kind of do it like comedically, like a lot of trivia, a lot of snark and jokes and everything. So you'll laugh, cry, and get turned on by Strokey Mon.
Awesome. How long when did you first become interested in movies?
Oh, all my life. I as you can probably tell by my background, I'm not a sports guy.
No, I don't know what the first clue there was, really.
We were talking a little bit about this beforehand, but I was joking like I do collect these, but it does not at all like represent my taste. I just like collecting these buckets. My taste a little in that I do like popcorn a lot. But no, I grew up watching movies, and when I was growing up, my parents weren't strict. I could watch about whatever I wanted, and I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, so we had the HBO Cinemax package. So a little bit of everything, like
everything.
The award contenders and the action movies and all of that on HBO, and then over on Cinemax, I grew up with the Skinemax flicks.
Sure.
So, how was Andrew Stevens going to get out of this one? No, so yeah, when I started the channel, when I started the show, it was pretty early on in YouTube. So a lot of the niche stuff like that, like Italian exploitation movies and all those, weren't getting spotlighted a lot online really at the time. So I wanted to kind of build the show around that, because I had a big exploitation collection, a lot of Italian horror movies, a lot of slasher flicks. So I kind of built the show around that, and I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, the growing up in the 80s, I feel like was a treat because, I mean, although people long for the days of Blockbuster, the real finds were at the mom and pop like video stores, right? Because they sometimes had that curtain in that little room in the behind, like behind the curtain, and they had stuff that, like, Blockbuster wouldn't carry, because that was pretty much like most of the mainstream stuff. So if you wanted to go outside of that, you really had to find some other places back then.
Oh, totally. I'm like you. I really don't have the nostalgia for Blockbuster Video. So we had a Blockbuster Video, but I'm from Illinois, and Blockbuster wasn't the most popular chain in our area. For us, it was like, yeah, the mom and pop ones, like you said. Like we had Boardwalk Video and Stars and Stripes Video, Thrifty Video, all those. But like the big chain with us was Family Video, which was way more popular with us than Blockbuster. Family Video, like, the prices were really good at Family Video, and their selection was way better than Blockbuster. Like, yeah, they had the back room section that had, Caligula, Debbie Does Dallas, and all of that. They had the back Foreskin Gump, the classic. Like, they had those, and also, yeah, like the horror movies, Seven Doors of Death, and they were always uncut, whereas Blockbuster, it was never anything above an R. And the only time that I remember going to Blockbuster Video was because Blockbuster in our town was the only video, surprisingly, it was the only video store in our town that had like old Pam Grier movies. So it was like, oh, okay, I want to rent coffee at Foxy Brown. I guess I got to go to Blockbuster Video.
Yeah, that's is there a seminal movie that you can think back to that really like opened your eyes as far as like, wow, this is this is something that I've never seen before. It's really opened my eyes into a whole new world of movie making?
Probably the first time I saw Caligula.
That'll keep those eyes open.
It did. Like, wow, like we can combine elements of like Shakespearean actors, big gorgeous sets, a costume period piece, large budget, and hardcore violence and pornography. Like, I'm like, this is opened my eyes to like all of these different things that you could combine. So that actually did kind of make me want to be an exploitation filmmaker. But I made some movies, but I got into YouTube instead.
Well, that's the other thing too. I mean, I see what you're saying about Caligula. I think most people are, I sort of go with the opposite, because back then, you know, we would rent these things and they would be made by people like young independent filmmakers.
Yeah.
And then you would get to think like, man, anybody can do this, right? Like
Mhm.
it would make you think like, oh wow, all I need is a crew and a camera, and I can do this stuff too, mostly making horror movies.
Yeah. Yeah. And then in the 90s too, with like the indie movie boom. So like you throw in like kind
Right.
of quirky comedies in there and rom-coms and crime flicks. Like, yeah, no, certainly. Like all of that made me and my friends want to just like grab our camera and start making movies. And we did, and we did for a while. And sometimes we still do. But the internet thing kind of takes up a lot of time.
Well, sure. I mean, now you're at the point now where, like, on YouTube, you can, and you're doing it. You can make a movie like every week, like a little like short, like something that.
Yeah.
And that wasn't anything that was available. I can't even imagine, like, that sort of technology was not even in my scope of thinking back then. That would be possible to do on such an easy basis.
Oh yeah. Like back then, there was some we would rent, like the shot on VHS movies that our video store would have. Like they would have like Wood Chipper Massacre and Truth or Dare and movies like that, and those were always really fun and funny to watch. But yeah, before the YouTube thing, like we had a public access show. So back in the 90s, like we were still in high school and we had a public access show, and I guess it was kind of like a prototype of what we would later do on YouTube a little bit. I'm sure those tapes are still around somewhere, but I haven't. We liked them at the time. Now I'm sure I would probably watch it and be like horrified and be like, dude, we got to burn this.
What kind of movies do you like look for as far as ones that you want to feature on your show?
It's definitely evolved over the years. When it first started out, it was all stuff that like came from my collection, and it was typically things like the first episode was the Italian horror film Burial Ground, and that was kind of the type of thing that it started out as. Really, it was kind of whatever I was sort of buying at the time, like a Bruno Mattei movie or something like that. Then it kind of evolved to go into like movie bombs and like underrated stuff that I really, really like. And so now it's and for quite a while, it really sort of is what I feel like spotlighting that week. Unless it's like a tie-in episode, like an obligation episode,
sure.
Like, oh, a remake of this movie is coming out, so I'll do one on the original, like with the Chris Rock Jigsaw movie, Spiral, when that came out, like I was like, oh, okay, I'll do the first Saw movie. But by and large, it's typically like, okay, I feel like spotlighting this comedy this week, or I feel like spotlighting this like Rambo knockoff from the 80s. It sort of is like just what I feel like watching that week.
I will say, I mean, watching a couple of the episodes of yours, I do sort of credit you. I mean, it would be certainly the movies and your content is not afraid to take some shots at these movies. But it seems like it's all tongue in cheek and done with, like, you could tell it's done with some respect, if I can say that, as well as like it's just a labor of love for you to bring these movies to people's attention. It's not like you're trying to dismiss them or overly criticize them or trash them.
Yeah, it's done in humor, and it's certainly like the tones have shifted over time. Like when you go back and watch some episodes, you can kind of tell the era when the video was made. So like if you go into like the really, really early days, like, yeah, there's a lot of yelling and there's a lot of like F-bombs and whatnot. But that was just kind of the genre we were working in at the time for the kind of video. But in doing that, it was like, okay, I want to at least like create this character that's obviously fake, and what he's saying is certainly amped up. It's a stereotype of kind of a highbrow art critic guy who's talking about porno holocaust or Wanda the sadistic hypnotist. And so yeah, it was kind of geared in that a little bit back then, while still shining a spotlight on these movies. And the way that it's grown over time is certainly like a lot more analytical, I would say, but still comedic, still like a lot of snark, but in a way where like the character is giving some like facts and certainly my opinion about the movie, but also jokey in the sense that he's talking very highbrow, and he is saying like cartoonishly wrong facts about the movie sometimes. Like you can tell the difference between when it's
like,
a
did
real
they watch it?
yeah. Like you can tell like the difference between when I'm saying something real about the movie and when I'm just like kind of like, you know, making up stuff. So but that you know, it helps us grow along with the series, especially when we've been doing it for so long, because we started this around when YouTube first started. So yeah, if we didn't evolve and change the kind of movie, change the kind of tone, we would just be doing the same thing we were doing 15 years ago. Like the same kind of thing. We get bored with it and maybe stop doing it. But no, this helps us like change with how like videos kind of go over the course of time.
Yeah, and not only has you know, film become a lot of films, a lot of different genres, a lot of different types of movies have become more and more available, but also growing up in that era of the 80s, 90s, the film critic was like somebody that was put on a pedestal, usually unjustly so, because they all and even the ones that claim to be like the mainstream ones, like Gene Shalit or Rex Reed or even Siskel and Ebert, to a point, they certainly had this sort of loftiness that like they were better than anything else. Like it just like so it is kind of funny. I thought they were parodied very well in the short-lived series The Critic.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, and I definitely get that sense from your character as well.
Oh yeah, it was kind of inspired off of that, because I grew up watching Siskel and Ebert. Like I loved Siskel and Ebert, even when I disagreed with them a lot, because they weren't the biggest fans of slasher movies in the world. Like so, but they were so good at what they did that like I could watch them reviewing Friday the 13th Part 4, you know, and all of those, and be like, okay, they're taking it very seriously. Like, and I disagree with them, but I'm like, they are so good at being entertaining about what they're talking about that people would tune in to watch them, like, you know, rip on something or argue with each other, even if it was like a movie that the viewer would like. And so when I started this show, yeah, it was inspired off of that. It was inspired off of like Ebert talking about Friday the 13th, the final chapter. But I wanted to do it in certainly like you know, kind of a loving satire of that, because I did grow up with that show. I do like it a lot. And I did, and all the respect in the world to Ebert, in the sense that like, okay, he was not the biggest fan of like slashers of the 80s and a lot of different exploitation flicks, like, you know, gave a half a star to The Beyond, and I love The Beyond. So he wasn't a fan of a lot of those, but I got to give respect in the sense of like, well, he did kind of put his money where his mouth is, where in the early 1970s, he wrote what I think is one of the best exploitation flicks of all time, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. It's a masterpiece. So I'm like, I got to give the guy kudos. It's a great movie.
Is there a specific underground movie, a movie that you feel is underappreciated, that you are the champ? You consider yourself the champion of?
That Oh gosh.
that you're really like campaigning, like more people need to appreciate this, more people need to see this?
Probably Messiah of Evil. That's the one I bring up a lot. It's one of my favorite horror movies of the 70s. And
I don't know that one. What is that?
oh,
Do tell.
Messiah of Evil. Oh, it is like weird and creepy and gritty. Like it's like kind of a zombie movie, but not really. Like there's parts where it seems like it is because the way it's shot, where all of these creepy ass people come in the movie theater and sit behind the girl when she's watching it. They go in the store and like these things are in there, the like kind of people that are sitting there eating meat. Like it's sort of like a stuck in a small town kind of movie, where a girl is there looking for her missing father, but then there's all this demonic stuff going on. It's kind of hard to sum up, but it's not confusing to watch it. And it's from the writers would later go on and do and write Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Wow.
And it's one where a lot of people probably own it without realizing that they own it because it was in the public domain for a while. So if you've got like any of those 50 to 100 movie compilation things, odds
Right.
are it's probably on it. And so surprisingly, I never did do a snob episode on it, but I do talk about it a lot. I think I had some other shows in the past because it used to be where we would have like a number of shows way back when. Now we kind of just sort of focus on the main stuff. But I think I had some older shows a while back where I would talk about it on. But that's one that I am always like, you got to check out Messiah of Evil. This thing should be on so many lists of like the best horror movies of the 70s.
And certainly with this, now it seems like so much is available, along with many different sources. You've got like all these cable channels, streaming channels, big time. Is there a challenge with all this material out there? It feels like you're never going to end, or
Well, that's
like
a good
it's a
thing.
wealth of
Like,
material? Yeah.
I mean, there's always a wealth of material in that. Even if I was just specifically talking about stuff from like the 70s, it would still be a lifetime's worth of material that I could spotlight. It doesn't make it difficult on the cinema snob, but I do review like newer movies that come out. And before streaming and all that was fairly easy enough to do. I mean, at least if you do this for a living, it was like, and they're like, oh, okay, I'll just see whatever's out in theaters over the weekend. Now, between big movies that are on Netflix, Hulu, all of these streaming services, it's like, okay, it's impossible for me to cover everything. And now it's kind of a game of, okay, I guess I'll kind of just talk about whatever the viewers would be interested in. I'll look at what's coming out over the weekend and sort of be like, well, I don't know if anyone will really care what I say about the George Clooney, Julia Roberts rom-com Ticket to Paradise. I'll watch this cannibalism comedy instead. Like, so that makes it kind of, there is a lot of stuff nowadays, but it is a lot. It is a lot to the point to where not a whole lot sticks with me that much anymore, because I mean, there's exceptions certainly, but I'll see something that I'll really, really like a lot and maybe give it like a B+ or an A- or something, but might for like you might ask me something like a week or two later, like, what have you seen recently? And in my head, I'll just forget about what I've seen recently just because there's so much. And I hate scrolling through streaming services. I hate it. Like I really, really do. You'll just be scrolling nonstop and just, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I honestly, like, and sure, I'm showing my age, but I do prefer just having cable. I do, because I'm like, okay, there's limited options. I know I'm gonna land on something, even if it's something that like maybe I don't necessarily want to watch. I'll at least land on it. And you'll probably understand this. There's a lot of stuff that we grew up with that if streaming was around that back then, we might not have saw and maybe would have skipped past it. There'd be a lot of stuff that we grew up with that would be really, really cool that we watched just because it was on. Like,
Yeah, there's not a lot of discovery anymore.
yeah.
Because
No,
people just go to what
totally.
they want, watch what they want, and then are out. Like there's not
Yeah.
a lot of, unless they're paying attention to what like the streaming service is recommending.
Mhm.
That's then yeah, they're not gonna seek it out, or it's not gonna be right in their face.
Dude, yeah, like I'll be like, when I was a kid, it'd be like, okay, well, it's 2 a.m. There's really not much on. Okay, yeah,
Exactly.
sure. I'm gonna watch. Ooh, White Fire with Robert Ginty is on Cinemax. I know what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna be watching this one.
So we figured out what you're up to, Mike. I think it's time to find out what he's really passionate about. So it's time for the Geek Seat. We'll get the straps ready.
Oh, we are so ready for this, man. But you have to be careful. He's into cannibalism, so he might chew off his own arm to try to get out of it. So
that can happen. That can happen.
no, people have threatened in the past. So, it'll be very interesting to see what happens. All right, Brad, are you ready for your first question in the Geek Seat?
Sure.
All right, Brad, what was your favorite geek out moment?
My favorite geek out moment. Which one can I say on video? Meeting Joel Hodgson was cool for me.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, because he's one of those guys where it's like I'm thinking in my head, going like, I don't know if I would be in fact, I highly doubt I would be doing this for a living if it weren't for him and his work and his show. So that was a pretty cool moment for me, growing up with Mystery Science Theater and then doing comedy stuff with movies and finally meeting him, and super nice guy, very, very, very cool, funny, nice dude. So yeah, I really liked that moment.
Oh, I'm sure you probably were like, we're not worthy. We're not.
Oh,
worthy.
right. Yeah.
What was your most disappointing geek out moment?
This okay. Now this one, I'm definitely like, okay, I guess I should probably leave out names. I remember. Okay, I'll leave out a name. I don't even know if this is disappointing. It's actually really, really funny. But so the only person I guess that I met who wasn't the nicest person in the world, big like was on a popular show in the 70s, still does stuff. It does a lot of conventions. I remember I was standing there and I had kind of heard that he's not the best person to get along with the conventions, and I'm standing there and there's a kid who goes up to him, just wants a picture, is just like, I'm a big fan, I want a picture, that would be cool. Dude's just like $40, and the kid's just sort of like disappointed, just like, I don't have that, I guess I'll go. The kid walks, guy goes, hey kid turns around, just goes, effing cheapskate. So it was like, I don't know if I can curse on here, so I just said like,
No,
so I
you're
just
perfect.
said, oh, okay. So he goes, fucking cheapskate, and like, so, it was like the opposite Mean Joe Green moment. It would feel like, like Mean
Hey
Joe
kid,
Green,
screw
like,
you.
yeah, like Mean Joe Green spits in the kid's face.
Yeah. You ain't getting this t-shirt. Yeah.
That's just all I can think of off the top of my head. But like,
Wow.
that actually is one of my favorite convention moments.
Wow.
We like telling that story.
What geeks you out the most?
Oh, what geeks me out the most? New fast food items.
Really?
Wow.
I'm a geek for like fast food and McDonald's and all of that. So like when McDonald's brings something back, like the McRib is back. Like
we're in McRib season.
We're in McRib season. I geek out for that stuff. I geek out for like the McRib coming back. I'm the dude's like, yo, you got to bring back the Arch Deluxe. I would be there like the day that it comes back. I would be first in line. I had that back in 1996. It was delicious. So when like,
I haven't thought
so
about
you
that.
were the one who tried the McDonald's surf and turf. Got it.
I did try the surf and turf and the Mc 1035 where you get a McDouble and put like the McDonald's egg on it and the
Oh,
Canadian bacon. It's not bad. But I'm a fast
What's
food
what's the
junkie.
what's the one where they had the cold side and hot side?
The McDLT.
DLT.
The McDLT. You could kind of get that for a
Where
little
the hot
while.
stays
Like
hot and the cold stays
Yeah.
cold.
if you got like back when they had the big and tasty, like you could be like, well, I guess this is kind of the McD. If you say if they still had the McD or the big and tasty, you probably could have gone up to them and been like, yeah, can you put half of it in like this wrapper and half of it in this wrapper? When discontinued soda flavors like make a comeback, like I like that kind of thing, like when Crystal Pepsi comes back, when anytime Mountain Dew Pitch Black comes back.
That's why I love traveling to different parts of the country, because they have
Yeah.
different things and everything.
Oh, they
like
do.
that,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
everything. Just when you go to Italy, don't try Beverly. That's
I've
all I
had
write.
Beverly.
Yes.
I've had Beverly before. It was someone I knew was in Italy, and they said, "Do you want me to send you back anything from the World of Coke?" Is that what it
Yeah.
was? Yeah,
Yep.
from the World of Coke. And I go, I knew what Beverly was, and I do have like a food and drink show, so I go, if you can get me some Beverly, that would be cool. And they sent it back to me in this like water bottle, and it was what I thought it was going to be, where it's like an aperitif, so it's like really bitter. Like, so I did do
That's
I
an
did do a
understatement.
video
That
on
is
that.
an understatement.
It's not the worst one that I've had. It was bad, but like the worst one was there was ranch dressing soda.
Oh,
And don't get
oh.
me wrong, I love ranch dressing, but in soda form, ooh, that was like vomit backwash if you drank like water and ranch dressing, and it didn't work.
So I guess that also just answered your question. What turns your geek off? Right
I
there.
will not have sex in a bathtub full of ranch dressing soda.
Oh,
That is a major turnoff.
ew, there's so many diseases that would come out of that.
Oh yeah.
That's a first.
What fictional character would you like to meet the most?
Fictional character would I like to meet the most? James Bond, I guess. That would be cool.
Which
I'm a
one?
big. Oh, that's an even better question. Which one? Oh, I guess Connery. But all of them I would like. Yeah. I mean, Connery's the most iconic, so sure. But I'm a huge George Lazenby fan. So like he's one who would just him as an actor I'd like to meet in general anyway. Like we almost had him in one of our movies, but it was like a scheduling thing, and also we had run out of budget around that time. But no. Yeah, James,
So
I
Bond.
grew up a big Bond guy, so yeah.
Okay, no, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. What fictional character would you like to meet the least?
Geez, which slasher villain? Probably Freddy Krueger. I could get away from like, Jason. It's like, well, okay, I just won't go to Camp Crystal Lake. Michael Myers, like, well, I stay up in northern Chicago. I won't be near the fictitious city of Haddonfield, but I do sleep and I love sleep. So Freddy Krueger, yeah.
Yeah, Freddy.
Yeah.
That kind of fits with the season we're in right now, so it's perfect. What is your favorite geek phrase, quote, or pose?
What's my favorite geek quote?
Yeah, or pose or phrase.
Pose or phrase. Push the button, Max, from The Great Race, my favorite comedy.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Love it. What is your ideal geek occupation?
I would love to do a show like Siskel and Ebert. I would like, and I like, I do like the snob stuff and all of that. But like, if I had like the funds and could recreate like just a shot on tape show like Siskel and Ebert with another person, where it's just kind of these condensed few minute reviews for things that come out, I would totally do that. Especially if we could get the rights to thumbs up and thumbs down. I would do that for the rest of my life.
That's awesome. That is awesome. What geek occupation would you not want to do?
Oh, what would I not want to do? I want to do. I don't know. I guess it depends on, because I want to say like editing or it would depend on what the project is. If it's something that like I don't, if it's outside my wheelhouse, outside my genre, I'd be like, okay, I wouldn't want to write that. I wouldn't want to direct that. I would just act in it instead. So I guess it all depends on the genre. Oh, I would not want to organize a convention. That sounds stressful.
That's a pretty strong answer. We get that one a lot.
Yeah.
Even especially from people who organize conventions.
Yeah, I bet. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
I
Very
got
much so.
friends who've done. I got friends who have done that. I'm like, nah, I couldn't do it.
No. I would not organize a con if my life depended on it. Really. So understandable there. Hey, at least you didn't say, cleaning up the back room at the video store, behind the curtain.
Well, I'm not a germaphobe, so I can probably do it.
Okay. All right. Are you ready for your final question in the Geek Seat, Brad?
Yeah.
All right. This is for all the marbles. So let's make this a good one. So what is your ultimate geek fantasy?
Oh man. Ultimate geek fantasy. Maybe going back to the 1970s and making a porno.
Wow.
I probably would. Like I would. Like I think about that sometimes. Like I've written a few different genres. I'm like, yeah, I would like to make like something that's got like a plot, like a crime thriller or something like that. I wrote one at one point. Like go back then, make it all gritty and stuff. Like shoot it on film, put it out there on like the porn theaters that our town had at the time.
Oh, sure.
Just some cool sleazy gutter movie that I could be like totally proud of.
So you must have loved Boogie Nights then.
I do. Yeah. I love that movie.
That is awesome.
I would want to do it. I guess I would probably want to. I'm from Springfield, Illinois. I guess I would probably want to do it maybe in Springfield. I feel like if I did it in like a big city or something like that, I would somehow get tied up with the mafia, and that might not end pretty.
Mr. Soprano would like to speak with you.
You need to just cut this crime thriller I made.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I could have some suggestions for you. You might want to do this and this. And it's like, yes, sir, yes.
I don't know why there needs to be a giant spider in this movie, but all right.
Yeah. Good old Kevin Smith. Love it.
Yeah.
That is awesome, dude. Well, Brad, I've got some great news for you. You've made it to the Geek Seat. Congratulations.
Huzzah! Huzzah!
Mr. Mike Gordon, tell the young man what he's won.
You have won a lifetime subscription to the ESO network, a value easily worth $39.08.
Perfect.
That'll pay for his next movie. What do you mean?
That'll pay for the next like bucket that they sell.
That's true. That's true. Awesome. Brad, it's been amazing having you on. Where can people go to find out about your various shows and what you're doing?
You can subscribe to me at youtube.com/Stoned Gremlin Productions, or just go to YouTube and type in The Cinema Snob. My archive site is thecinemasnob.com, and I'm also on channelawesome.com as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we will have links to those in our show notes so that people can check them out.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was fun.
Absolutely.
Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back when we are going to be talking all about the Rings of Power. Boom. And we're done. Yay.
Yay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No problem.